The fact that a man born in 1790 has a surviving grandson in 2024 is extremely disturbing to me. I went down a bit of a rabbit hole, and I mean, reading about obscure American Civil War battles shows just how deep of a rabbit hole, but I would come across an entry for Harrison Ruffian Tyler, the surviving grandson of the 10th US President John Taylor. Now, remember that we're on the 46th president at the moment, and that Taylor, the 10th president, was president in 1841 until 1845. That was 184 years ago. Now, no, this isn't some QAnon level Kennedy never died nonsense, though it's just about as disturbing. John Taylor was the 10th president of the United States, being the VP of the Whig nominee William Harrison. Taylor had been hoping that his time as VP would be largely quiet, with him not even leaving his Williamsburg, Virginia home in the early days of the administration, and not even aiding in the formation of a federal cabinet. But of course, that would not be the case. John Taylor would come into the presidency seat after the rather death of Harrison, merely 1 month after taking office. Fun fact, John Taylor would serve out the rest of Harrison's 4-year term without a VP of his own. The position was left vacant. Back then, there actually wasn't really a process for having a new VP put into place, even though the succession order had been in place since 1792. 16 times the position of vice president was left vacant, some for short periods of time, while others would last for the entirety of a presidential term. It actually wouldn't be until the passage of the 25th Amendment in 1965 that a new VP would be put into place should the current VP become acting president. Anyway, Taylor's administration was marred with so much that I'll eventually have to do a full video about it, but he would end up being the first president that the House of Representatives aimed to impeach. He had the Dorr Rebellion that nearly split Rhode Island into 2 separate states. I don't know why. He attempted to annex Texas, or he would sink the 1844 election if neither party agreed to do so. Yeah, it was a bit of a mess. But that's enough of talking about this man's administration. We're here to talk about the ridiculous old age that these folk had kids at. Well, John Taylor had 14 children. In 1853, at the ripe, and I do mean ripe, old age of 63, John would have his 4th son, that being Lyon Gardner Taylor. Lyon would have his father die at the age of 8, shortly after the start of the Civil War, and him, along with his mother and remaining siblings, would flee to Staten Island, residing there for the remainder of the 1860s. They would come back to Virginia to practice law. He would be a major advocate for Virginian local history preservation, but also an extreme critic of Abraham Lincoln. He would also be a Confederate apologist and one of the larger names behind the start of the Lost Cause movement. And also at the ripe age of 74, and Jesus Christ, I pity the woman, Lyon would have had his second to last child in Harrison Ruffian Tyler. Born in 1928, Harrison is still alive at the time of recording. A former chemical engineer, and the man behind the preservation of Fort Pocahontas, or the Battle of Wilson's Wharf, and how I stumble upon this entry in the first place, is done. Unfortunately, Harrison is dealing with dementia following a series of strokes in 2012, living the rest of his life in an assisted living facility. Be sure to like the video and subscribe to my channel. It costs you nothing, and I wish you all the best.